Good afternoon, Kiori. How are you on today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thank you for asking. So, welcome to your second session. I know it's been about 2 weeks since we last met, and just want to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and go over our professional disclosure statement again. And for sake of time, and remember we reviewed it last time, so I'm just kind of going to go through it. I'm a graduate student working towards the completion of my master's degree, professional counseling. I'm currently practicing counseling techniques. Therefore, we will be recording our sessions as previous, but my professor and classmates will only be seeing this tape. The recording will be destroyed at the end of the semester. You should know that there are some limitations to my counseling. Please note that it is not possible to guarantee any specific results regarding your counseling goals. However, together we will work to achieve the best possible results for you. Your rights. It is your right at any time to inquire about the process and procedures being used during our counseling relationship. You have the right to refuse or request change to any of my suggestions. If at any time you are not satisfied with my services, you can inform me or my instructor. Once you have become counseling with me, there is no obligation to continue. You have the right to discontinue at any time, though I ask that you participate in the termination session. Should you desire a referral to another therapist, I will provide you with one. My services are rendered in a professional manner consistent with the ethical standards of the ACA, American Counseling Association. If you have a complaint concerning malpractice, this can be reported to my instructor. Everything we discuss in the sessions will be kept confidential, except if I determine you are in imminent danger to yourself or to someone else. If you report child or elder abuse or neglect, if your records are subpoenaed by a court of law, if you disclose sexual contact with the mental health provider with whom you have had a professional sexual relationship, if information is requested by your contract provider, if I am directed by you in writing to disclose information to someone of your choosing, and if you begin a malpractice suit against me. You're also aware that this session is being recorded, and it's just for the benefit of the evaluation of my instructor and classmates, okay? And I do have your signature here, so thank you again for submitting that. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So tell me, I know we left off previous session. We left you with some homework, and that was really just for you to focus more so on some of your breathing techniques, some of your additional research. I know you said sometimes you look on TikTok and different things for different things to help you with like relieving some of your anxiety. And then you talked a little bit about self-regulation. So tell me, in the past 2 weeks, have you been working on those things, and how has that been going for you?
Yes, I have, and it's been going well. I feel like I'm in a different space than I was even just 2 weeks ago, just because of the fact that I did have time to look at the letter that I wrote to myself a while ago, and I've come a long way. And sometimes I don't realize stuff like that, but I feel like everyone does that. But yeah, I've been doing the self-regulation. Um, I have been continuing to talk to myself and really just give myself the space to just be emotional, and that's helped a lot.
Okay, great. And you mentioned about you looked at the letter that you wrote to your younger self. I know you said you had previously started that with another therapist. So when you say you looked at it, did you edit it? Did you start all over? Did you just review what you wrote previously?
Yeah, I just read it over just to get a just get like a brief feel of what it is that I was like, where the mindset I was in before.
Okay.
Um, and like I said, I definitely have come a long way as far as like where I was then versus now. It's helped me though as far as like continuing to talk to myself because I just talk to the letter, or I talk to myself as if I'm writing the letter back to them. Yeah.
hmm Okay. And when you were reading your letter, did you kind of go back to whatever age you wrote the letter as to really kind of like be in the moment? Tell me a little bit more about that, because I know that's a technique that a lot of my colleagues use with their clients, and you hear different messages on if it's effective or not. And so I'm really interested in hearing. a little bit more in depth on what that did for you, and where you were at, mentally when you were reading that from that like age of what you was writing it from.
Yeah, so that letter was about, I think I was like 21, 21, 22 when I wrote
Okay.
it. Um, and so I'm 26 now, and so it's been a little bit. But it was a bit triggering at first because that was a place in my time, and that was a time in my life where I wasn't being vulnerable with myself or anyone. I wasn't necessarily ready to acknowledge certain things about myself and my situations. So it was a little triggering because I was like in a victim mindset at the time.
Hmm.
I did have self awareness of myself, so that was good. But I like reading stuff from the past in general is very triggering, or like I feel cringy about it because I'm like, I don't. That's not who I am anymore. But I'm also trying to like, embrace it because it was a part of me at some point.
Hmm.
So I read it. I felt a little triggered, but not to the point where I was getting a lot of anxiety. I just felt the emotions come and go, and it was nice to read it and see that I had grown. That was really the biggest thing that I took from it was that I grown from it, and I was able to show myself compassion. The person that wrote the letter, I was able to show
Hmm.
compassion without necessarily judging what they would say and stuff, because that was like the initial reaction. But I was like, sorry, like you were just doing what you needed to do at the time. It was I was just trying to not be in the space that I was at that time, and so that
Right. Okay. And that's interesting. Again, I've heard different feedback on how that has either worked tremendously for other clients or it did not, to some degree, it just kind of was um, getting it off the chest. So I like the fact that you mentioned you feel that you've grown since what, almost 5 years ago? Um, and when you say you've grown within that 5 years, what are some of the things you think have occurred in the 5 years that has helped you with growing and kind of being more at peace and at ease when things try to come up to make you feel, nervous or anxious? What are some of the things? And not already you mentioning the things that you're doing, but what else do you feel has made you um, feel like you've bypassed that place where you was at 21 years old?
I think a lot of it just has to do with life experience and just new things that I've learned and experienced since that time. Because at that time, I was just moving to a new state, in my first apartment, meeting new people. So I was in a different environment. I think that helps a lot. And then meeting people, especially the people I've met in like the last couple of years, have shaped the way that I've thought about life, about myself. Um, and like one thing I realized now is like everybody's a mirror to you. So
Mm,
I had to realize that the things I didn't like or did like about people were just showing me things I liked or didn't like about myself. So that
mm,
helped me understand. That's how I learned to have compassion, honestly. Like that's how I
yeah,
learned to have compassion for myself. Because I had to have compassion for those people instead of just seeing it as a black and white thing, thinking that it's always whatever I'm seeing at face value and it's really deeper than that. So that's definitely been a part of where I am now, as far as myself and like catering to me. And then I think that just gets reflected out to how I act with people now.
yeah. That's such a great point you said, because I'm a believer that everything we need to see or know about ourselves is already within us. And it sounds like, you just had to take some more steps of growth in order to actually evolve, so to speak, to see you for who you are. You talked a little bit about um, you had to, everybody was like a mirror to each other, to ourselves, other people that we interact with as a mirror to ourselves. And some of the things that we don't always like or they may rub us the wrong way, and others is usually some type of comparison to what might be really going on inside of ourselves. And it sounds like you were able to pick that up, and because you were able to see that, you kind of turned the other corner where you was able to be compassionate to the situation that others were going through because you too knew, wow, that's something that I deal with internally. And so I have to be compassionate, one with myself so that I can be compassionate with others.
Right.
That's good. I think that is not an easy task to unravel and figure out. But the fact that you sounds like gave yourself some grace to get to that place, that's a beautiful thing. And you really do sound like you're on a really great path of just getting past these things, these past traumas, the things that have been holding you back or making you feel like you weren't enough, that you weren't valid, that you weren't being heard, things of that nature. And I'm excited that you're on this path of being free, more or less, I guess, from the things that have been maybe paralyzing you from being able to move forth and evolve in your true self. So you had some homework assignments, and I know you said you've been just trying to practice more on those things. In the past 2 weeks, has there been anything else that you discovered, whether you researched or spoke to someone else about, or just discovered more about yourself where you think that might be something you want to add into the equation for a tool to utilize if you do come up against, in anxious situations?
This is something that this is something that I've been learning, but I didn't want to accept until a few weeks ago. Um, I'm realizing now like I can't be attached to outcomes, and it's not easy. But
Say that one more time. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I have to realize that I can't be attached to outcomes.
Mm,
Yeah, I've realized like I've always wanted to be in control of things, and I've realized
mm,
that now, but it's so hard not knowing what the next thing's gonna be. It's so hard not necessarily knowing how to get to the next step or like what the next step's gonna be, who the next person in my life's gonna be, or like what the next opportunity is gonna be. But I realize now that that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because all that's gonna be unveiled in due time. So I'm learning that as long as I just try to detach from what could be and just think of what is, then I'll be able to move forward.
So you would like to come sit in my seat then, because you just basically gave me a whole mouthful. That's right. Like the way you just described that, not being in a place of control, not being in a place where you're attached to the outcome, because the outcome could always change. And you hit it on the head. When and if the outcome doesn't turn out to what we think or desire it to be, are we going to be anxious? Are we going to be nervous? Are we going to understand that I got to give myself some patience? I have to be patient with myself. I have to be compassionate with myself. I have to understand that that's life, right? And as we mature and become adults, we do learn to deal with life a lot easier than we may have in a previous time. So again, I really do think, you're on a really great path to just finding your self-efficacy and being in a place where um, you're no longer as vulnerable, so to speak, to the ways of the world, um, to the point where they kind of throw you off, but you'll be able to stand firm knowing that, hey, if something does come up and it used to be something that made you anxious, now you know how to deal with it and you know that it's not going to get the best of you. Um, so, I mean, I think that's really great. And just continuing to, um, you know, look within yourself and seeing how you can grow. You seem like you do a really great job with that as well. And like I said, you just gave me a whole mouthful. You definitely inspired and encouraged me to know, even if, we may be counselors, but we don't know it all. And there's things that can occur where we can get a little anxious, right, about just sporadic things that come up in life. But we have to also know, give yourself some favor, be patient with yourself, be compassionate and trust that, you'll be able to get through whatever it is that, you're going through. Um, so I think, if it's okay with you in terms of a homework assignment, because we only have one more session left, unless you decide to, move forward beyond the initial 3 sessions that you signed up for. maybe just continue on this path unless it's something else that you would like to focus on. If there's anything else, I know some of the key points on your initial intake was about anxiety and nervousness from past childhood traumas. And it sounds like if you can just continue to get a handle on those things, then I think you're going to be able to just manage whatever may come to you as you continue to grow. But if you want to still um, focus on those areas, then for me, and if you're in agreement, your homework would be to just still work on your meditating, work on your breathing, work on, educating yourself so that you can get better and better as you continue to deal with, life occurrences. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Honestly, I feel like at some point there's not enough things that you can give me that's gonna like do anything but just learn to live. Like I keep looking for tools and everything, but at the end of the day, I just experience life.
literally. I think you're going to be in the office next to me soon because half the battle is realizing just what you said is nothing anyone can give us to manage life. There's not enough tools in a tool belt to help us get through life. Everything we need to get through life is within us, but we have to know when and how to use it, right? So again, I applaud you for, putting forth the effort to want to better yourself. I applaud you for even setting aside time to say, hey, I want to seek a third party to just make sure I'm going on a right path, and so just continue to do what you need to do to help yourself be a better person and get through life. But it's pretty much a short session today, unless there's anything else on your mind you'd like to talk about. I do have another client in about 15 minutes. I want to prepare for that. But yeah, anything else on your mind that you would like to discuss today?
No, I think I'm okay.
Good for today. All right. So are we good to connect again? I see on my calendar in 2 weeks, same time. Does that work for you? Okay. All right. Well, thank you again and continue to, just be positive and do what you're doing. I think you're doing an awesome job, Fiore.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. You have a good day, okay?